Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chasing Labels, episode number 15. We are once again back with myself, as Andrew Cabral, and my co-host, Stephen Billings.
Can I be Andrew Cabral?
If you want to be me for a day, go right ahead.
Well, I just want to take your name. Cool. I mean, I ain't gonna body swap with you. I don't want to, like do what's the movie with the Freaky Friday? I want to Freaky Friday this. I just want to take your name for the day.
Oh, okay. That'd be kind of cool. We could just swap names.
I guess. Do you like Stephen Billings? I mean, is that cool?
Huh. It has a nice ring to it. I'll say that.
Thank you. I like Andrew
Very
Cabral.
nice ring to it.
Okay, let's stop this fun fest. Let's do the
get back down to business. Yeah. Business being, of course, the world of physical media. This is episode, like I said, number 15. Last week we had a gargantuan episode where we had to split it up into two parts.
Yes.
Because we broke our all-time record in going for 3.5 hours nearly. This week will not be as long.
This will kind of be the opposite, almost probably.
Yeah, we're gonna take it down a notch. You know how when you're in the middle of a concert and the lead singer will come on the microphone and we're gonna slow things down a bit.
Yes.
Or like a DJ will be like, here we go with the smooth sound of some nice cool jazz music. That's going to be this episode.
Okay, I'm assuming you haven't been in a lot of scenarios like
DJ
this
booths?
lately,
No.
because
No,
nobody's saying let's play some smooth jazz, unless maybe you're in a jazz club, but not in most.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, probably not anymore.
Probably not. Once again, I'm just locked inside watching movies constantly.
Well, you're giving back to the world with your knowledge, Andrew.
I guess I am. So, changing things up a bit, we got a bit of a lean week when it comes to boutique announcements, so we're going to fill in some gaps from things that we haven't been talking about over the last 2 weeks or so. And Stephen, you have a couple of tidbits from a couple of different other boutique labels that we don't really talk about a lot. So you want to dive into those?
Yeah. Just there's a couple releases from a couple smaller labels, some just kind of some bigger ones like this one from BFI.
Yes.
You have information on a few other releases, but the main one we were going to bring up was that the Seventh Seal is going to get a 4K from BFI, which is the British Film Institute. And if you haven't seen the Seventh Seal, it's a fantastic film from the great Swedish director Ingmar Bergman.
Yes, it is.
And it's primarily, most people that own this movie probably own the Criterion Collection release, which is a great release. Nothing wrong with that release, but it looks like the BFI are going to be the ones putting out this 4K. And, as we've talked about in the past, 4Ks are region free. So it's not like one of them situations where it's like, well, they put it out in the UK, so it might still go to Criterion in America or go to somebody else in America. Nope. I mean, the 4K is just like whoever has the 4K has it everywhere, unless there's some other deal they come up with for other regions. I don't know that there could be any other labels that might put this out later. So, but...
Yes, there's not really a lot of details on it right now, at least that I can see. It is coming out on October 18th.
Yes.
It is, of course, 4K being region-free, like you said. You can play it here, you can play it overseas, as long as you have a 4K player, obviously. And this is, once again, another previously released Criterion film that's getting a 4K release someplace else, typically overseas. And I just find that fascinating. That just keeps happening over and over again. I think
people were found this loophole to get some of these great films that Criterion have had in their collection for a long time, and they're like, "This is our way to get it out there for ourselves,"
Yeah, whatever the legal loophole that they're doing is obviously working, because it is still, as far as I know, Criterion still owns the license here, because of. They just released that Ingmar Bergman set about 3 years ago. I think that set actually had Seventh Seal in a new 4K transfer.
Okay, yeah.
I think that was the difference between getting that set and just the original Blu-ray release that was many, many years old.
Yeah.
That was one of the earlier Blu-ray releases that they had put out. When it comes to special features for this 4K release, I'm not quite sure how it compares.
It must still be in the works, because also I'm hoping that the package isn't just that 4K.
That cover?
I mean, the cover's not great either, but if you're going to put out the seventh seal, it should probably be a little bit more. If you want to get people to actually buy it, you might want to do a little bit more work on your packaging. And some of BFI's
Perhaps.
Releases are good releases. Like they have some rigid cases and stuff like that. So I would expect that maybe there's going to be a little bit more to the overall release here.
Yeah, and they have done, well, they are releasing, I was going to say they have done, they are releasing Ingmar Bergman volume sets as well. They released an Ingmar Bergman volume 1 set back in July. And by back in July, I mean like less than a month ago at this point.
A few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago, a volume 1 set. And their volume 2 set is coming out on that same October 18th date along with this 7th Seal release. And coincidentally, that 7th Seal is being released on Blu-ray in the Volume 2 set that same day.
There you go.
So you can either buy either of those sets.
That's interesting.
And get all the Ingmar Bergman you can, which I always recommend. And I was just actually just going to ask you, do you have any BFI sets or BFI releases? Because I know I don't.
The only one I can think of off the top of my head is one I talked about in our early days of this show, which is the Hirokazu Koreeda set. That
yes. Yes, you did.
I think it was with Flesh and Blood or something like that. And so that set's really great. It's possible that I might have a couple other ones. I think I might have like a mini series or something. German films. I can't remember, but they have some great releases. I need to get more BFI stuff, but they have some great releases over there. So I expect this to look great and to probably be an all around great release. So
I was just gonna say I've been looking at them for years, just in general. I know they had a Werner Herzog set that was released in 2014 that I always was interested in. It had different films than the Shout Factory set we had here. They also released a Marlene Dietrich at Universal set.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I kind of want to get that.
They released that earlier this year, January.
Yeah.
And that would fit very nicely with either the Indicator Sternberg and Dietrich set or the Criterion Dietrich and von Sternberg set.
Yeah.
That would fit in there very, very nicely because if anything, that's kind of a bit of a continuation of that set.
Yeah.
In terms of just timeline wise.
And the same with
Marlene Dietrich's career.
Yeah, and the same with that Ingmar Bergman Volume 1 is got a lot of early, I think some earlier stuff that was not in the Criterion box set. So
I'd have to look.
I'm not for sure on that, but I think there might be a few films in that set that were not in that big set. So
yeah, I would. No, yeah, I'm not going to look it up right now. I'll go down the Ingmar Bergman trap.
Somebody please correct me when
if we are wrong, because I know they put everything in that box set possible that Criterion had, which I think was everything, including the early films that were in an early Bergman Eclipse set. That was I think it's Eclipse set number 1 actually. Those got the upgrades to Blu-ray for that set, which was kind of a nice surprise. But do you want to move on to the next release?
Let's talk about some Italian police crime movie.
Shall we?
This is from another British label that I don't think we've ever brought up. They're called Fractured Visions. And they are putting out a release of a Umberto Lenzi film, which, we talked about Umberto Lenzi a lot on this show when we've talked about the Severin set, the Lindsay Baker set. So they're putting out a film he did called Freehand for a Tough Cop, which is a cool title. And I have not seen this film, but I do like Umberto Lenzi, and I'm just from the little bit of reading I've done, it sounds like this might be a cool police crime film from him. Anything on this?
I can say that it's not coming out until November 29th, so people do have time to pre-order it if they want to.
Yeah.
But I do really want this, because yet again, it's kind of another thing. If you have that Umberto Lenzi box set, this will probably go right along with it. Because this movie came out in 1976, and I think that box set has early 70s stuff.
Yeah.
Like late 60s, early 70s. I think that's that area. I probably should look that up, but it's a really something I'm interested in. I love the cover.
Yeah, I love the
really
cover
love the
too.
cover a
It's
lot.
very, very in your face, just explosion behind. What you think about when you think about like action movies, just explosion going on behind characters. But
It really does. Also, just from learning a lot about Umberto Lenzi by watching his movies and the special features on that set, on the Lenzi Baker set, I want more of his stuff in my collection.
yeah,
So this would be perfect. Yeah, I was right. Those films are from like 1969 to like 1972. That seems to be the range for the Umberto Lenzi set. So this comes sequentially probably close to right after that. And he also did movies in the 80s as well. So release all those Umberto Lenzi films
oh
so I can
yeah,
buy them, because a lot of these films are better to have in the physical media form in terms of quality.
yeah,
I'm learning that a lot when
oh
it comes to
yeah,
the boutique labels.
definitely.
That you can find these movies, but the quality is gonna vary depending on where you're getting them from.
I'm noticing a lot of Lindsay films coming out from a variety of labels. Like I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the films in the recent Vengeance Trail set from Arrow has an Umberto Lindsay Western in there. So yeah, you keep getting these sets and stuff or these single releases, you can quickly get a lot of Lindsay films in your collection. And I think he did a lot of films, so it might be hard to get everything.
Yeah, I'm a completist. Once I
Yeah, I
start
know
somebody's collection,
it's gonna be
I gotta get them all.
it's gonna be crazy
like
for
Pokemon.
Yeah. Also, it looks like the cinematography was done by a couple. There's two cinematographers, and one of them's the cinematographer for Deep Red, and Live Aventura.
Luigi.
Luigi Coveller.
Yeah,
I can't.
Cuvea.
There's
Cuvea.
Covera.
Yeah, he did La Ventura, which is
Yeah.
the Antonioni film that everybody kind of knows
Yeah.
about, and Deep Red, which coincidentally we just talked about last week because Arrow's releasing their 4K edition of it.
Yeah. So
And then the other cinematographer was Sebastian Celeste, who
I
who
guess
did
an early version of
Zorro
Zorro
from 1975,
Yeah.
which has an out of print Blu-ray that goes for $150 on Amazon.
Jesus.
Oh,
You don't hear that a lot. You don't hear a lot about a cinematographer duo.
no.
Yeah.
Usually that's not the case unless one gets fired.
Yeah, yeah.
then they gotta
unless
bring
one
somebody
does
else
have
on.
to film, and yeah, which
Or if
which
somebody
could
like
be
passed
possible.
away,
Yeah.
or yeah. But next up on the docket,
Yes, and the last kind of like just quick one off we have here is kind of a big one. I think it kind of surprised everybody. Dementia 13, which is
Yes.
the first film by Francis Ford Coppola. We're getting a Blu-ray release, the director's cut release from Restron Video, which is a pretty new label. We haven't really talked about them much yet. I would say some of their releases are interesting. Some of them are more on the I think nostalgic culty side, or but like they did. I have the release of Shivers from
yeah, we talked about that last
yeah.
week.
So, but this is one we both have watched. I mean, I haven't seen the whole thing, unfortunately. I saw probably a good hour of it, which is almost the whole movie, I guess. But you've seen the whole movie too.
Yeah, I saw it years ago.
And
it's one of those. I think it came. Usually, you find this movie in like Roger Corman box sets,
Yeah.
because I think it was produced by Roger Corman in that
It
whole
wouldn't
troupe
surprise
back in the
me.
'60s. Because this movie did come out in like 1963, so people forget that Coppola and Lucas and even like William Friedkin, they were all kind of older than the generation of the filmmakers from the 70s.
Yeah.
They were kind of like the right before those guys, kind of, in a way. So some of their earlier films come out a little bit before those. Like Martin Scorsese's film didn't come out till the late 60s, while Coppola's film came out in the early 60s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Dementia 13, what's good about this release is that you're getting a brand new 4K restoration of the director's cut, supervised by Coppola. What Coppola's doing right now is he's going back to a lot of his older films, and he's kind of re-editing them.
If he's coming from the same time period as George Lucas, we know that they love to recut their own fucking shit all the time.
Well, I get.
Excuse my language.
Yes, he did. He did another cut of Apocalypse
Yes.
Now, the final cut, where there was already a theatrical cut, there was already the Redux cut, and now there's a final cut.
Have you watched the final cut yet of that?
I have watched the
Is
final cut because I got the 4K.
how is it?
It's good. It's really good. What he does is he kind of he inserts back a lot of stuff that's in the Redux, but I think he takes a little bit out of the Redux, so
Okay.
it's not as long. It's really good. Also, he did the same thing recently with Godfather Part 3.
Yes.
Recut that
Yes.
movie. It changed the title too. That's all those movies are supposed to get a 4K release sometime this year, I think.
Yeah.
That's more I know what that's more mainstream through Paramount, I think. But those are supposed to get recut. But has he done it with another film? But either way, I think he did it with the Cotton Club as well. But I don't know, it's interesting. It's interesting that directors going back and revisiting their old work and tinkering with it and maybe doing things they originally wanted to do but didn't have the ability to do at the time, or things they want to do now. But this does have an intro by Coppola and then an audio commentary by Coppola. And there's a prologue. It's called Dementia 13 Test, and then subtitles. That's about it. But Vestron, the reason why we don't talk about Vestron a lot is because it's a subsidiary kind of Lionsgate. And Lionsgate is one of those companies where it's not quite boutique, but not quite mainstream. They kind of dabble in both
Yeah.
for the most part.
I mean,
they release mainstream movies in like the theaters and on Blu-ray, but then they'll also release, things that aren't mainstream.
Typically for and we said this in our first podcast for Chasing Labels, not that we're trying to be discriminated against certain labels or certain places that certain lines of films that maybe people consider to be labels, but it's more about the releases themselves. Like if we're interested in the movies or interested in the releases, that's where we go to talk about stuff if we have the room to talk about it. And in this case,
Right.
This is something that I think the audience will be into and we're into. So we went to them, but we're not singling out like Vestrum or like Paramount Presents, is another like recent new line of films that people would consider a boutique label maybe, but we look at them as like kind of like mostly a outlet for Paramount to just put out mostly their popular their popular catalog stuff. And that's not interesting enough for us to be considered as much of a boutique label per se. So, but they do have some great, like we talked about Roman Holiday. That release of Roman Holiday is an important release. But then they put out stuff like Pretty in Pink again, or like it's like they put out stuff they've already put out many times. So
Very true, very true. And like I said, Lionsgate dips in both areas. So, but this was an important release, I think, because a lot of people were interested and there was a lot of buzz about it, and it's definitely something I want. And I don't have a lot of Vestron, and I kind of want to go back and get some of their releases because I'm got a little bit of missing out on some of them.
that happens.
But a lot of their movies they're not great because I've seen a couple of them. Things like Chopping Mall, very kind of cult.
That's
cult
very
horror classic and stuff.
culty. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been trying to go back, but now that it's aftermarket, those prices are kind of going to go up a little bit. That's the one thing.
And you'll
with
have a hard
boutique
time
labels
getting them slip cases. So
yeah, you know me. I gotta have my slip covers. I mean, I'm a little lenient now, more so depending on pricing. But if I can find one with the slip cover, I'll prefer it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day. This happens to me all the time. I'll wait and never find something with the slip cover, and then I'll just buy it because the price is too good, and then a week or two later I'll find the slipcover, one with the slipcover.
Yeah.
It happens to me all the time. Kills me, absolutely kills me. But that's a story for a different time.
yeah, well, no, that's a story for the ongoing story.
Yeah, it's an ongoing, agonizing story.
But that's it for the kind of tidbits we have. Now we're gonna go to our old friends, Kino.
Our old friends, old reliable, as I
Yes.
like to call them. They are as reliable as your favorite pair of shoes, favorite pair of clothes. They fit so well, so comfortable, and you just can't live without them. And that is Kino Lorber Studio Classics. And we're going to fill in some gaps here from a couple of weeks ago that we didn't get to talk about. First up here is a Western starring Rock Hudson and Kirk Douglas called The Last Sunset. It's coming out October 12th. And then next up is a movie called Hot Saturday, which is a great title for any movie. Hot Saturday from 1932, starring Cary Grant and Nancy Carroll and Randolph Scott. And then next up, we've got kind of a bit of a talk about cult a kind of grindhouse type movie from 1965 called Village of the Giants. All we have there, they just released the poster. Just the poster. I hope that's the cover art, to be honest with you. Just use that. It's called, and the tagline seems to be "Teenagers zoom to supersize and terrorize a town." It was part of that era of like '60s where they had these like delinquent teenage movies. You know?
That's a genre all on its own, and not just in America, but they
everywhere.
I recently watched a really great kind of teenage delinquent movie that came out in America. It was called Over the Edge. It just had an Arrow release. Really good.
I did not see
really
that.
good. It has Matt Dillon in it. I think some other known actors. But yeah, it's really, that's like I said, it's a whole thing of its own. Coppola did one. Thinking of Coppola, he did The Outsiders.
Yes, he did The Outsiders, and then he also did the other film as well, which is why am I forgetting it now?
I was gonna say, wait, is the name of the movie the other film as well?
Yeah, I wish. Don't my mind don't fail me now.
Come on, man.
Oh man, I'm gonna kill.
He's searching.
Yeah, I'm searching because yes. Oh, I was hoping Steven could pull it for me, but I guess he can't.
I'm gonna probably know it when you tell me it.
Rumblefish.
Oh yeah, Rumblefish. If you'd have just said it was another Matt Dillon movie, I could have maybe pulled it.
Yeah, I could have just.
You should have said that, and I would have been like,
and it's also, it's actually also another adaptation of the same author's work as The Outsiders.
There you go.
And they filmed it. I think he filmed it around the same time too, like one right after the other in the same like location. Okay. I think. But yeah, I love the movie Rumblefish, even though you couldn't tell because I couldn't remember the name of it. Oh man, that's what happens when you watch so many movies. Your brain gets scrambled.
Yes, but back to Kino.
But back to Kino. Next is Michael J. Fox for the Love of Money, starring Michael J. Fox.
It's the prequel for The Love of the Game.
I guess so.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's got a bit of a Photoshop cover, and also they put the font for Michael J. Fox in the biggest font I've seen for one single actor in a movie. Yeah. It's like no one else is in the movie, which is not true. That's why I said Michael J. Fox first, because on the cover, plastered in big print, Michael J. Fox.
This is during that time where he did like movies like Doc Hollywood and like the 90s Michael J. Fox after the whole Back to the Future thing was like over.
Yeah, this is 1993. It's a really fun romantic comedy. Okay. I really enjoyed it. I got to get more of his non-Back to the Future stuff.
Yeah.
It's available on Blu-ray, and it's been available for a while. A few of them have Warner Archive releases and just regular Blu-ray releases as well. But I gotta get more of his non Back to the Future work because he's also charmingly good.
Oh yeah, I've always liked Michael J. Fox.
I've always been a big fan. Yeah. His sitcom Spin City is something I've always liked. I watched it when it was on TV, and I've got a couple of DVD sets for that series. Moving on to a movie starring Rock Hudson and Gina Lollobrigida and Sandra Dee and Bobby Darin, and this is Come September, directed by Robert Mulligan. People may know Robert Mulligan because he directed To Kill a Mockingbird around the same time as when this film came out. This film came out in 1961. This is a delightful romantic comedy as well. I really enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah, I saw you made a post. I think it was when I saw it on Facebook or Twitter, I can't remember, but you said you started watching a Rock Hudson movie and it made you feel better. Was this the movie?
Yeah, it was because it was just really light and entertaining and bright and charming. I don't want to get too into it. Basically, Rock Hudson's like this super rich guy, and he only visits this like mansion villa in Italy every September.
Yeah,
and he only and this is like his like long-standing girlfriend, Gina Lollobrigida's character, but he only sees her like once a month a year. Yeah. So like she's like living her life, and then he comes early on. Instead of September, he comes in July, and what happens is apparently the people that are working and living at his house basically converted it to a hotel when he's not there to make money.
Yeah.
and then he shows up, and it's just like a zany screwball type stuff ensues. There's like a group of young women there with a chaperone, and he's like, he wants to kick them out, but they have no place to stay. It's a whole big fun thing. And then Gila Brigida comes and stays with him too. They have a romance and whatnot. It's a great film. I love Rock Hudson.
Sounds like it
And
might be fun. The only thing I'm upset about here is that Kino didn't take advantage of the fact that it has September in the title, and they didn't announce this in September or have it released in September. So what was it? What was that all about?
I don't know. It's an October release. It's
I
October
know
19th.
it's not important.
It does have a new audio commentary, which is really nice by David Del Valle and filmmaker David DiCoteau. But I'm very curious what the transfer is going to look like because it's a bright movie.
Yeah.
It's set in southern coastal Italy. Whether they shot there or not, it still looks very beautiful. But moving on, we have a movie starring Elvis Presley and Mary Tyler Moore called Change of Habit, and I don't know much about Elvis Presley's film work because I haven't seen a lot of it.
Now, wasn't there another? No, I think we brought this up already because I remember saying out loud, "Oh, Mary Tyler Moore plays a nun." I think we talked about this one in a previous episode.
Did we?
Yeah, I think once again,
maybe
on their site sometimes Kino will kind of repost something that they didn't have a date for, and I think this is one too.
Well, coincidentally, this also comes out October 19th as well. This movie's from 1969, which is towards the later part of Elvis's career, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Because he passed away, I don't remember when, but yeah, that seems later in his career. So I think we already talked about that. But I'm also big fan of Mary Tyler Moore, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, Dick Van Dyke. She was quite a gem of an actress.
Yeah.
But moving on, we have another Claudette Colbert film, which I don't believe we've talked about yet, in Torch Singer.
Yep.
This is another pre-code film from 1933, and this just has an audio commentary by Kat Ellinger, who seems to show up on many, many things, which is always really great to see. And yeah, give me all the Claudette Colbert,
definitely,
please. I'll take it. And then we have another movie called To Hell and Back, which is a war film about the life of Audie Murphy, and he also starring himself as himself.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a pretty meta movie. Shot in CinemaScope in Technicolor, I believe. Maybe not Technicolor.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Technicolor. Because depending on which studio back then, some were using Technicolor, some were using another form of Technicolor, whatever. Just competing. But this is actually a pretty solid movie. I really enjoy this film a lot. I didn't know much about Audie Murphy before watching this movie. I don't have that Audie Murphy box set that Kino has also
I have
released.
it. I need to watch. I hear The Duel of Silver Creek is pretty good. So
yes.
I need to watch that. But yeah, there is a set, I think, of 3 films of his that Kino already
Westerns.
has. Yeah.
And I didn't know this about him, but apparently he's one of, if not the most decorated soldier in American history.
Wow.
So I didn't know that at all. He fought in World War II in the army and just did a lot of heroic deeds that are traversed in this movie. So very interesting. Came out in 1955. So it's good. It's really solid. I really enjoyed it. Next up is something on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
This is a movie from 1980, starring Jack Palance, Martin Landau, Ralph Meeker, Cameron Mitchell. This movie is called Without Warning, and it's a alien horror film. And Steven, stop me if you've heard this premise before.
Okay.
Young people and just people in general in the woods, and then an alien's trying to hunt them down and kill them.
Now, you know what? I mean, you've seen this movie. I haven't, but you know what? The posters got me in. I have to. I need.
That's a great poster.
I need to watch
that
this
tagline
movie.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That tagline, it preys on human fear. It feeds on human flesh
Yeah.
without warning.
This is
Coming to a theater near you.
This is how it's going to get me in. I'm going to take this movie as a film, like a story within a story. So this is a story of characters that were during the events of the movie Signs. And this is a whole
nice.
Yeah. Now I know the aliens in Signs didn't eat people, but we don't really know that, do we? So let's I'm gonna assume this takes place during the movie Signs, and this is some kids out there doing their thing, and then the aliens come, and so that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know why I chose the movie Signs, but I'm going with that.
Neither do I. I can tell you though that this is directed by the same guy who did the movie Final Justice, starring Don Baker,
Well, thanks for telling me
which
that.
is
Yeah.
which is famously an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I said this before, I think on another episode, but it's the last episode with the original host Joel Hodgson as part of the show originally, and yeah, Final Justice is. Don Baker, like I said, he's like an army ranger sheriff guy who follows a criminal to like some Italian place. No, he goes to Malta to find a mobster or something. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But anywho, same director, and this movie is getting a new 2K master, which is interesting. But it's okay. It's not great.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of like Invasions of the Body Snatchers, a little bit of Predator. You get a little Evil Dead camera angles in the film as well, I guess to like heighten the suspension. But it's not a great
Okay,
film.
the way you just described it is going to make everybody want to watch it.
It is shot by Dean Cundey, who did like Halloween and other movies as well. He's a great cinematographer, and it's probably the film he did. Oh my goodness! Right after Halloween, maybe. Now I'm looking
Yeah,
it up, it's like,
78,
yeah.
right? Halloween 78.
Yeah, it was around the time he did The Fog, Escape from New
Yeah.
York. Halloween 2, he was the DP on that. Halloween 3, he was the DP on that. Psycho 2, a lot of the stuff around that time. But yeah, so it's interesting movie. Interesting movie.
All right.
I don't know if it's necessarily something I would buy though.
Well,
But I don't regret watching it.
okay, fine.
So next we've got coming October 12th from Code Red and Kino Lorber team up is The Hound of the Baskervilles from 1978, starring Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. What I've learned is that for some reason every couple of decades there's a new Hound of the Baskervilles film that seems to come out. I don't know what it is with Sherlock Holmes and people constantly going back to that Sherlock Holmes well, but it seems to be a hot
It's
property
like-
every few decades.
It's the Sherlock Holmes thing is like kind of like the buddy cop movies. Like it's like the same kind of like it's like the British version of buddy cop movies from America. Like it's like a team up. They're going after mysteries. There might be some action. Like there's usually a wit between two characters. I get it.
Yeah, if you look up how many times there's been a movie called The Hound of the Baskervilles, you will be kind of inundated with a movie every decade. There's a couple every decade.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to the 30s, maybe even earlier, and maybe even be an earlier one. I mean, it's fascinating, just absolutely fascinating. But this is the one from 1978. I have not seen this version of The Hound of the Baskervilles, so I couldn't say whether it's good or not. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's that. And then next we have another team up. This is coming out October 26th, and this is an interesting team up between Scorpion Releasing, a company we don't really talk about a lot, although they do release quite a few good things, and Kino Lorber. And this is Fritz the Cat, and then The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat. Both done, I believe, by Ralph Bakshi, or at least the first film was done by Ralph Bakshi. And this is, talk about all-time kind of like cultish type stuff. It's really hard to explain these movies.
I was going to
Steven,
say
have you ever
I'm not
seen-
aware of them. I've heard the name Fritz
Really?
the Cat, but I've never seen anything.
Yeah, so I've seen the first film. That's why I wasn't sure of the second film, because the first film was actually something I watched on Netflix once upon a time when I first got Netflix streaming. Okay, so 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat is not directed by Ralph Bakshi, but it's from the comic books of Robert Crumb. And if you know anything about the comic writer Robert Crumb, very weird, very, very weird. and it's just Fritz the Cat. It's kind of it's a very adult type of animation, very adult, very R-rated, very, you could even say, I mean, maybe not X-rated at the time, but it's
Definitely
he's doing,
exploitative.
yeah, like
Softcore.
Yeah, it's sexual, there's language, there's racial stereotypes, there's all kinds of stuff in it. And so basically, yeah, I mean, on IMDb, the rating on it is rated X, which had that rated X. It says a hypocritical swinging college student cat raises hell in a satiric vision of various elements on the 1960s. So it's satirical and very graphic, but not graphic by modern standards, but still graphic. Ralph Bakshi is a famous director, still around. He did, like I said, Fritz the Cat, but he also did Wizards. He did The Lord of the Rings in 1978, that animated film, which only covered Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, even though the movie's called Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So, he's done a lot of interesting, cool type of movies. So these are kind of definitely cultish areas. Definitely something I'm interested in, especially Fritz the Cat, because I don't think Fritz the Cat's been available on Blu-ray ever, if at all. It is getting a brand new 2K master. Yes, brand new 2K master, new audio commentary with artist and historian Stephen Bissett and author G. Michael Dobbs. And the second film is just getting a brand new 2K master and nothing else. Because I think the first film is really the one people mention. I've barely heard anything about the 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat. So that is really, really fascinating. Also, check out other Scorpion releasings. I don't really have the time to go over them now, but I've always wanted to get more stuff from Scorpion releasing.
Yeah.
So next up is talk about shifting gears again. There's a movie called Deported, which looks like a neo-noir from 1950 or straight up noir from 1950. Steven, do you concur on that?
I think so. I mean, it is
like.
directed by Robert Sodmak.
Yeah, it is directed by Robert Siodmak, who did Phantom Lady, The Suspect, Spiral Staircase, The Killers, Cry of the City, Crisscross, and then The File on Thelma Jordan. So yeah, that's right in that realm. I don't know this film well. I wish I could have seen it before the show. I tried looking for it, couldn't find it anywhere to watch.
This is a tough one, yeah.
This was a tough one to find, but this is coming in November, so Kino's already dipping into their November releases, and we are barely into August.
Yeah.
This year seems to be moving too damn fast. And then lastly here from Kino, which they announced just a few hours ago, is The Brass Bottle, starring Tony Randall, Barbara Eden, Burl Ives, and this has to be a comedy.
Yeah.
This has to be a comedy.
I mean, the director is the editor for the movie Stripes from 1981.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, he also edited Stir Crazy, and with comedy, the timing's everything. So being the editor on a lot of comedies, really kind of sets you up for being, I would hope, to be a pretty good comedic director, maybe. So yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about this film, but I mean, I have to look into it more.
Yes, I do too. I mean, he's got a lot of directing credits.
Yeah.
Wow. That go from the early
Looks like
50s.
a lot of TV.
Yeah, it goes from the 50s to the late 60s, but it's just a lot in a short amount of time. A lot of TV, you're right. But he also has even more editing credits, which is fascinating to me. Editing is where you can make or break a film, as we've seen so many times. Interesting. But yeah, I remember Tony Randall specifically for being on the Odd Couple TV series.
Yeah.
That's where I know Tony Randall from. Barbara Eden, of course, television.
Of course.
With I Dream of Jeannie. Burl Ives. Wasn't Burl Ives the voice of the snowman in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Oh, jeez, that's a
somebody
pull
else?
right there.
Yeah. Burl Ives was also he was Sam the Snowman in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer TV special. But apparently Burl Ives was also in The Big Country, Cat in a Hot Tin Roof, and True Romance. Damn, True Romance.
Wow.
No, he wasn't in True.
I was gonna say it's not the.
No, he was on the soundtrack of True Romance.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't know about that.
Yeah, because I'm looking here. His last acting appearance is in a movie called Two Moon Junction from 1988, which I think I've seen, maybe, because it has Sherilyn Fenn in it. Sherilyn Fenn would then go on to be in Twin Peaks right after
Yeah.
that. Um, and I've always been a big fan of Sherilyn Fenn. But yeah, Burl Ives, I know as from being Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Apparently, he was also a voice in. No, that's something different. I was gonna say Pinocchio, but no, it's a TV movie Pinocchio. That's another property that keeps getting random
Yeah.
movie adaptations or remakes or whatever every couple of years, and they never get any type of what's the word I'm looking for marketing at all.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a Grimm's fairy tale or something. But anywho, that's it from Kino.
Yeah, I had a couple things just to skim back up. Like
Yeah.
for love or money, the Michael J. Fox, that is directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. So that's worth mentioning.
You are correct.
He did films
Famously.
like Addams Family, Wild Wild West. If you like that movie,
Wild Wild West.
Men in
Great
Black.
soundtrack.
So yeah, he's very very active in the '90s.
Yeah, he's still active today.
Yeah.
A lot of producing, a lot of directing. The last thing he directed really was Men in Black 3 in 2012. He also directed something called Nine Lives in 2016.
Yeah.
I think he directed the Beverly Hills Cop
Pilot.
Is that the pilot? Yeah, that was the pilot that never got picked
Okay.
up. Which, yeah, I think that was that looked like a pilot movie. Let's say a TV movie, but I'm pretty sure it was the pilot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still around. But in the '90s, he had
Oh
a
yeah.
hell of a run.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my god, here we go. The Addams Family, For Love or Money, Addams Family Values, Get Shorty,
Yeah.
which I'm a big fan of, Men in Black, Wild Wild West. Then things kind of just tapered off a bit. He did the movie Big Trouble, Men in Black 2, and the movie RV with the late great Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Not a great film. Not a great film.
Yeah,
and then his career kind
I
of
would
tapered off from
assume
there.
he was very much his movies. A lot of the movies made good money, so he.
Oh
he
yeah,
kept
Will
working.
Smith was the biggest star in the world in the '90s. Still is a gigantic
Yeah.
star.
But
So yeah,
yeah.
that's a good pull. That's a good,
the other thing
good
I
pull.
saw here was that that film, the Claudette Colbert film, Torch Singer. It has two directors. One of the directors, Alexander Hall, he's the director of Here Comes Mr. Jordan, which is a film that's in the Criterion Collection.
Yes, it is.
Very good film with Robert Montgomery, and so I like making sure a lot of times when I'm buying films, I'm deciding on what I'm going to buy. All it can take is one fact like this to persuade me, whether it be like a director or actor involved or something like that. So, and the last thing I was going to bring up was that the first film we talked about, The Last Sunset, it was a film that apparently was very influential to Sergio Leone, because he actually was a second unit director on this movie, uncredited. But so this particular experience on this film was apparently very influential to him. And it looks like also Dalton Trumbo did a pass on the screenplay on this.
It must have been one of the ones he did when he was blacklisted,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Also, the film was directed straight up by Robert Aldrich.
Yeah, Robert Aldrich, I was going
who
to bring
we
up
know
too,
from Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, The Dirty Dozen,
Yeah.
Kiss Me Deadly, amongst other films. So that's a pretty solid
I was going to
release.
say,
It
out of
looks
all
like-
the releases here, I think this one is probably the one I'm the most interested in because of all the pedigree around it, with Kirk Douglas
Yeah.
and Rock Hudson. And apparently Robert Aldrich loved Rock Hudson on this movie. Said that he was like the most professional actor he'd worked with. Like,
Coincidentally, I think Come September and The Last Sunset came out in the same year, 1961. Completely different movies, but this film also stars Dorothy Malone, and of course, the great Joseph Cotton is in the film as well.
Kirk Douglas apparently was also an executive producer too, so he had some creative pull in this movie.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But Dorothy Malone was in a lot of films. She's probably not as well known as other actresses, but she was in The Big Sleep. She was the Acme Bookshop girl, I think, in that small one scene in that movie where Bogart goes into that bookstore. I think that's her. And she was also in Written on the Wind. as well. I think, and it does say here that she was in Basic Instinct. So
Uh-huh.
don't. That's that's interesting. Yeah, that was her last role. Actually, was in Basic Instinct. Talk about a huge jump going from The Big Sleep to Basic Instinct. But she was in many, many, many things in her career. Just going down a lot of TV work, a lot of movie work as well. So it's a solid movie. I think it's a really solid Western. I would highly recommend it for the cast alone. It's a very also interesting themes in that movie. Kind of the difference between the Rock Hudson and Kirk Douglas characters. There's kind of a quasi love triangle with them and Dorothy Malone, and it's a play on masculinity, different forms of it. It's a really, really good film. I really enjoyed it a lot. That's another one I'm definitely gonna look in getting out of all of these as well. So that is Kino Lorber for the last couple of weeks and what they've been up to, which of course is usually a lot. And then you want to move on here to the company we never really talk about a lot, and that is Network, which is
Yes.
another British or UK company. And Network is a company that I've been well aware of now for like a decade. When I first started looking into importing movies from the UK, Network is a company that just their releases came up all the time.
Yeah.
And they've got a couple of releases here that are three of them are actually television related, and one of them is just is a not real feature film, but you know what I mean, not based on a television series. I'll just read them out here, and then and then just talk about them a little bit. The Defense of the Realm, Bless This House, Father Dear Father, and then they're putting out a complete series of Gideon's Way, which is a television series, British television series. But both Bless This House and Father Dear Father are movie adaptations of a popular British sitcoms from the 70s.
Gotcha.
And so I wasn't, not being familiar with the sitcoms themselves, didn't feel appropriate to watch the movie adaptations of them.
Yeah.
It really didn't make any sense. It was similar to what happened with the imprint or Via Vision releases from a couple of weeks ago, where some of those movies were based off of television series that I had no context with whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I did watch Defense of the Realm, and this is getting a brand new restoration. And this is a movie that came out in 1986, I think, starring primarily Gabriel Byrne, who I think many people are probably more aware of than anyone else in the film. And basically, he's like a newspaper reporter, and he's trying to uncover some type of political misdoings by the British government. And what's happening is he's being kind of pressured to stop. He's being like attacked. He's being like harassed to not dig deeper and dig deeper into what he's slowly uncovering. So it's kind of one of those types of political thrillers. But the film for me, the problem is that it's in its presentation, it's rather bland,
Yeah.
rather straightforward, rather stern, rather constantly dramatic. And for some reason, there's just long sequences in this movie that they're not really telling you information. They're showing you stuff, but it's like I have no context of what I'm seeing here
Yeah.
because you're not telling me what this is. Granted, movies are more of a visual medium. It's better to show than tell. But when you're dealing with a movie with so much like plot when it comes to uncovering a conspiracy and there's different players on doing different things, you kind of need some information.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of got lost a little bit while watching the movie about who was doing what where and what was important, what wasn't. So it was a little bit of that. But this movie is shot by the great Roger Deakins.
Yeah,
So that's important to know.
Yeah.
That's important to know. So, Steven, I know you didn't get a chance to look at any of these films, but does Defense of the Realm tickle you at all? Tickle your fancy at
Wow.
all?
I mean, there are some really. I do like that kind of genre of like news reporter, kind of thrillers, or things like All the President's Men, or Sweet Smell of Success, or Ace in the Hole, or like them are great types of films. You're not giving me the idea that it's on that level. So other
It's
than
not.
the Roger Deakins connection, I don't know that this is gonna tickle my fancy.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot more of Michael Clayton
Okay.
than
Okay.
like it had that type of feel to it.
All right.
But obviously Gabriel Byrne is not George Clooney and vice versa,
Yeah,
and
no.
it didn't quite feel like that type of person. But it's an interesting movie. We're dealing with kind of like the corruption of government and how far that is, how deep that is,
Yeah.
and one of those movies where like don't trust the government, those types of movies, which feels a lot more like a '70s movie than an '80s movie.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
'80s movies were dealing more with like kind of late era Cold War type stuff, which it does play into this a bit, but I won't give too much away. But that is Network, and the other titles in here are kind of only getting brand new restorations and nothing really in the way of special features at all. Just theatrical trailers and image galleries,
Yeah.
and that's it. No commentaries. They're not saying what type of restoration they're getting, just that they're coming out. And these are September releases from Network, and like I said, Network is kind of an older company, and they've released a lot of great stuff over the years. I remember so many things I wanted to get from them, and I just never did because it just kind of passed me by. I think before Criterion put out Alfred Hitchcock's The Lodger, the only way you could get that on Blu-ray, I think in like decent quality, was from Network,
Okay.
if memory serves. And for years, I thought of importing that, and then Criterion finally gave us their release. Yes, it was Network. Came out 2012, so that gives you a time frame of how
Yeah.
long ago I was looking at some of these releases. Man, it's been a long time.
I'm surprised you
Been a
didn't
long,
pull
long
the
time.
trigger on that quicker because that's a Hitchcock film. So
Yeah, I know. I guess patience. You know my indifference about
yeah,
waiting.
I wish I had your patience. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer to it. I've been a lot less pull the trigger lately because you have to have money to survive in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. And these releases are coming out as fast and furious, and I've given up trying to keep up with buying all of them when they come out.
Yeah.
I've definitely given up that. Granted, I've been buying a lot more since we've started the podcast because I'm now tapped into it more than I've ever been before in terms of what's getting released when, from whom, quality, all that kind of stuff. I was always locked in before, but now I'm like extra locked in.
You're
like
more
super
locked into a lot more of the other labels that maybe you weren't really as focused on before.
I'll be honest, I'm buying way more boutique stuff than mainstream stuff than I've ever had.
To be honest,
ever.
I rarely buy anything other than boutiques. I mean,
I'll be honest,
yeah.
that mainstream stuff isn't really there's nothing really out there that I'm like, oh, gotta get it.
And they're really
Gotta
not.
get
They're
it.
really not putting out as much as they used to for obvious reasons. So
I think maybe maybe COVID kind of slowed that down.
well, not just that, but we know most of these companies are trying to get out of physical media anyway. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
they most of the companies have pivoted to streaming.
other than like
Disney,
the big stuff,
Warner,
yeah.
Paramount has their thing now. Universal has their thing now, but Universal's still nice enough to play with other people as well as Sony when it comes to physical releases. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's only been I can't even think of a release right now for a mainstream that I really want to say I have to have.
I think
Maybe
the last,
that Indiana Jones set.
No, I don't
That
care.
Indiana Jones set, maybe?
No, I don't. I think the last, I guess you could say it's mainstream release that I bought was maybe Minari, but does that really count? Because I mean, it's an indie film, so I don't.
Yeah, I recently bought Big Fish and Speed.
You know what?
in
You're right. I
4K.
did buy Big Fish not too long ago.
And that was like, that was like 2 months ago.
I
At
lied.
least
I
2 or 3
bought
months
Big
ago.
Fish recently, and Snake Eyes from Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah, remember when you told me that and I got
Yeah.
super jealous
Yeah.
because I've seen that in store for like $13 and it's like, damn, I need it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a fantastic Nicolas Cage performance, directed by Brian De
Yeah.
Palma.
directed by Brian De Palma. I used to get that movie and 8mm confused,
Yes.
and then I watched 8mm. I'm like, these
can't
movies are
confuse them,
completely not the same.
They're not.
Completely not. But back to Boutique Land. Moving on now to our final kind of batch of announcements this week. Vinegar Syndrome announced their August releases.
Yes, they
And
did.
we are in the beginning of August, so these are apropos. They also announced a bunch of releases from their partner labels, but we're concentrating more on their
Yeah,
straight releases.
yeah. Maybe we'll go if we have the time. Maybe next week we'll come back to the partner labels. Maybe.
because we definitely want to concentrate on their releases straight up. Not that their partner labels aren't doing
No, of
great
course,
work.
we
It's
talked
just
about it last time we talked
time.
about Vinegar Syndrome and partner labels. We talked about Fun
Yeah,
City. Fun City's got great
yeah,
stuff coming up.
Rancho.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then the release of Rancho Deluxe, which I've seen
yeah.
people slowly starting to get now, which looks really really cool. I love that artwork. But now we've got their August titles. I think there are five. Yeah, Bachelor Hero
Yes.
5, and in usual Vinegar Syndrome way, they all.
Six actually.
Oh, there's 6. Oh, I miscounted. And they all come with special features and new restorations. So we'll get into them. Steven, do you want to take
Sure.
the first one?
Sure. So the first one we got here is "Tough Guys Don't Dance." That's
Not a great
That
title.
sounds like something Sylvester Stallone should have been in the '80s. I don't know why. It's just I can see him after he did that movie. What's the one he sings in?
Oh, is it Rhinestone?
Rhinestone. After he did Rhinestone, he should have done this movie. Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Well, he did do Stop or My Mom Will
He
Shoot.
did. That would have been a
which
great
is
trilogy.
kinda the same time.
Great trilogy of movies right there. But Tough Guys Don't Dance is going to get its new 2K restoration of the film's inner positive, and you have You Don't Have to Make Me Any Nuttier. Brand new interview with the actor Wings Hauer. We have Shooting in Helltown, a brand new interview with cinematographer John Bailey. We have My Dad in Motion, an interview. I love these titles for these features. This might be the first time I buy a movie that I buy because the special feature titles are hilarious. Just kidding. I'm probably not going to buy this movie. Unless, Andrew, who's seen this, I think, convinces me otherwise. But so My Dad in Motion, an interview with Michael Mailer, son of director Norman Mailer. We have A Crazy, Wild, Spooky Movie, a brand new interview with J. Michael Lennon, Norman Mailer's archivist and biographer. We have archival featurette with Norman Mailer in Princetown. We have theatrical trailers, reversible cover artwork, English SDH subtitles, and this is a Region A locked, and it comes out. All these titles come out August 31st. So that's Tough Guys Don't Dance. Anything about Tough Guys Don't Dance?
Well. I have seen this movie, and I
Yes.
think many people have seen this movie. This movie also is that clip. Is the movie where the clip of Ryan O'Neal, where he's saying, "Oh God, oh no, oh God." I don't know if you've ever seen that clip. That's from this movie,
Okay.
and it is as terrible in context as it is out of context in terms of acting. This movie is a neo-noir, but very poorly, contrively written and very poorly acted. It's
selling
not a
it.
good movie. I know it has a bit of a cult following. If you go on Letterboxd and look at what people say, some people think it's hilariously brilliant in its crappiness, and some people just straight up see it for the bad movie that it is. It probably has that same type of following as like The Room has or something like that. I saw someone on Letterboxd compare it to saying that it's as if Tommy Wiseau written and directed a neo-noir.
Yeah.
And it feels like that sometimes. The movie's an hour and 50 minutes long, and it feels it.
Yeah.
It was such a slog to get through.
But
because
movies like this have
it's
their
so
place, I guess.
tropey.
Yeah,
I mean, it's trying to be good,
Yeah.
but it's just not good. And what is the biggest, most baffling part about it is Norman Mailer. For people who don't know who Norman Mailer is, he was a novelist, journalist, essayist, playwright, a filmmaker, an actor. He's one of the most kind of celebrated in his field of all time. He's won a Pulitzer.
Yeah.
And multiple Pulitzers, I think. Just looking at it, he's won the F. Scott Fitzgerald Award for Achievement in American Literature. He's won National Book Award honors. He's like an amazing artist, writer, person. He's gotten honorary degrees from places.
Yeah.
And this is the only kind of major feature film he directed, and it's so bad.
Yeah. Well,
I think he wrote it too.
You could be a great writer, but it doesn't mean,
He directed other things which I think were adaptations of his work. and this was not. If this is direct, this is the cinematographer John Bailey that they do bring up is a good cinematographer. He was the DP on In the Line of Fire,
Ooh, I like that movie.
which is
Clint Eastwood.
the Clint Eastwood film. Silverado, he was the cinematographer on, which I think is a western from 1985.
Yeah.
But he's got a bunch of work. He has like 84 credits on IMDb, and there's just a lot of stuff here. So he's done a lot of good work. He was the DP for Mishima, Life in Four Chapters, which is Paul Schrader's film that's in the Criterion Collection,
Yeah.
which is an astounding visual work. So he was the DP on The Big Chill, Cat People, which is also a Paul Schrader film. So yeah, so this film has good people behind it, but on the screen, it's so bad.
That
So
does interest me.
definitely
I do want to. You're making me want to watch this, but I don't know if I can buy it.
it has, it has Ryan O'Neal, and one of my favorites, Isabella Rossellini, is in it as well. But it's just not a good movie.
Wow.
Like it's one of those movies where I was like, I almost stopped watching it. I never like to stop
Wow.
watching movies, and yeah, I did not enjoy me. I think the movie may have given me a headache.
Oh, jeez. You sure it wasn't?
Yeah.
Were you not eating like bad food or something late at night or something?
Who knows? Maybe I didn't get enough sleep that day, or maybe I was tired.
Who knows?
But it also stars Lawrence Tierney's in the film as well, who was also in Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? Was that Lawrence
think so,
Tierney?
yeah.
But he was in a bunch of other films back in the day. He was in Born to Kill, Silver Bullet. This was definitely towards the end of his career. Granted, he did work for like another 10 years after this, but whatever.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
yeah,
Cool.
I don't quite recommend this movie to people unless you like bad movies.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna
Like,
say
if you
that
purposely like bad movies-
Sometimes these movies have a place. I mean, I own The Room, and The Room's terrible. You know.
The Room does have a Blu-ray release. So does Manos: The Hands of
Yeah.
Fate. But once again, in Vinegar Syndrome style, you're getting decent amount of extras, and you're getting a 2K restoration of the movie.
Yeah.
So
They don't skimp.
They're going
They
all
don't
out.
skimp on even not being great films. They're not. They at least put the effort in because
Yeah,
somebody
that's
somebody
the one
likes these
thing.
movies.
Oh yeah, this definitely has a cult following.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt in my mind that this has a cult
Yeah.
following.
But moving on to our next release, which is
Yes.
a 4K release,
Yes, it
and
is.
it's a film called Terminal Island, and I know you've also seen this one, but we'll go through the features real quick. It's got a new 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negatives. We have an HDR presentation on film, so it's going to be nice and bright and crisp if you're into this one. So we have "Why Be a Man When You Can Be a Rothman?" ? Brand new extended interview with co-writer and director Stephanie Rothman. We have "From Hartman to Cartman." Is this about South Park or something? I don't know. Brand new interview with lead actress Anna Hartman. We have "Crash Landing on Terminal Island," a brand new featurette with actress Marta Kristen and actor Sean Kenny. The Rothmanaissance. That's like a reconnaissance, but Ragmanaissance. Discovering the work of Stephanie Rothman, a brand new critical featurette with the film historian Dr. Alisa Kozma and film author, journalist, programmer Hetty Honeycutt. We got stills gallery, we have theatrical trailer, reversible cover art, English STH subtitles, and it's region free because it's on 4K, and it's also got a Blu-ray also included. So tell us about
Nice.
Terminal Island.
Yeah, this I will definitely be interested in buying.
Really?
I was
Really?
pleasantly surprised by this movie. Now, granted, it's not a great movie, not great acting, not great writing.
You're starting off.
movie
You're starting off convincing
super low
me.
budget, super low budget, but the concept is really fascinating.
Okay.
Basically, if you are convicted, this is some dystopian type world where if you're convicted of a murder, they put you on this island, basically.
Okay.
And this island is Terminal Island. It's like off the coast of California. and they put you out there on a boat, and they just leave you there. I think they maybe drop off supplies once in a while, like food or something, and that's about it. And and what happens is on this island, you know, power structures form, alphas show up, things like that, like in a society, very Lord of the Flies esque,
Yeah.
if you will. So basically, there's this main group headed by this guy who I can't remember what his name is. His name may be Bobby. I don't know. Yes, Tyrannical Bobby. That's what they call him in the description. And he's like super misogynistic. The women are treated terribly. They're basically just sex slaves. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. But there's this other smaller group that's kind of like fighting against him. And you follow like this one woman who gets there for the first time. And you basically see how things are happening through her, experiences. Like she kind of gets roped into this and taken in by the bad people, but then the good people rescue her and the other women, so they're fighting like against one another to survive. And it's entertaining from that perspective. And that's what I've kind of enjoyed about it, is the movie was never boring.
Yeah.
It was never pretending to be something that it's not, unlike Tough Guys Don't Dance, where it was trying to pretend to be something that it clearly was failing at.
Yeah.
Terminal Island, I think, wasn't. And I think that's why this movie is getting a 4K restoration, is because it's definitely a cult, gem, somewhat, in every sense of the word. Also, really, really young Tom Selleck's in this movie.
Ah. Does he have a stash? Does he have a stash?
No stash, but he does have some, like a gruffy beard.
Okay.
But no Tom Selleck stash. And this may have been his first movie, or this looks like his first movie now that I look at his IMDb. Oh no, he was in another movie called The 7 Minutes, and then he was in a movie called Daughters of Satan. I wonder what that movie's about.
That one, yeah.
And then he was in Terminal Island, and of
Okay.
course his career moves on from there. But yeah, Tom Selleck was in this movie, and I really liked it. It's not like I said, it's not a great movie, but it's enjoyable. And Stephanie Rothman, it's kind of interesting that they're pushing kind of a Rothman renaissance, because she only did movies in the 70s,
Yeah.
or 60s and 70s, and for a time being the 60s and 70s where women really weren't directing movies.
Yeah.
They were more behind the scenes in other aspects, especially mainstream. We talked about this a lot when it comes to the kind of, the Achilles heel of that 70s Hollywood, is not a lot of women were doing a lot in front of the camera or behind the camera. So that's a really interesting thing to see. And this was her second to last film. She made Terminal Island and then The Working Girls, and then that was it. So it's really cool that they can get her to come back to kind of talk about this movie.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to check this out. And
Also, it's a 4K release, but it's not one of their VSU releases.
okay,
I don't
so it's probably not going to get the deluxe treatment like your Six Stream Samurai or anything like that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
At least the package art that we're seeing doesn't seem to
Indicate
show
it,
that.
yeah.
Could though.
Maybe.
It could, though.
Maybe. All right. Well, moving on. The next one we got here. It
A
sounds
little
like
more, a little more obvious in its
yeah.
titles. These next coming films.
Yeah. The next one we got here is Auntie Lee's Meat Pies. So apparently this movie is about a devil-worshipping woman sends out her 4 beautiful nieces to lure men back to her place so they can be killed and grounded up and sold as meat pies. So a little bit of what's the musical? A little bit of
Sweeney
Sweeney
Todd.
Todd there, yes, Sweeney Todd. So that's interesting. But our features we got here, we have a new 4K restoration of the film from the original camera negative, so they went all out on that restoration. We got Express with Less, an interview with actor Michael Berryman. We have Blood in the Pool, an interview with makeup artist Roy Kynran. We have So Bad It's Good, an interview with actor Richard Veden. Say Yes, an interview with actor Grant Kramer. We have Recipe for Auntie Lee's Meat Pies. So I'm going to have to get this now because I need to get that recipe by the Homicidal Homemaker. And then we have reversible cover art, English STD subtitles, and then this is going to be a region-free release. I think it's, if anything, the thing that's interesting about this film is that the actors in this film. You got Karen Black, Pat Morita is in this film.
Yes.
I mean, just them two alone. I mean, that's pretty cool. Pat Morita. I want to see some more Pat Morita. He's I mean, we know him from The Karate Kid, but he's actually was a comedian. So to see him in this like low budget horror movie, I got to check it out just for that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he was also in Happy Days.
Oh, of course, yeah, definitely.
As the first Al in that kind of eatery that the kids always hung out at.
This movie came out in '92, so this was during the Karate Kid time.
Oh yeah. It's a relatively modern film. I mean, 20 years old or so. Film also has Michael Berryman, who is probably most known for being in The Hills Have Eyes.
Yes.
But I think he was also had a small part in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest too.
You would know him if you saw him. He's like a big hulking man.
Yeah, he's very distinct.
Yeah.
He does a lot. I think he does a lot of like horror conventions now.
Yeah.
I definitely want to make sure that I'm getting that right. By getting that right, I want to make sure that he's still alive. I definitely want to make sure. Yes, he is. So he's still around. He's still acting too.
Well, he's very much an icon in for horror.
Yeah,
fans.
he's in a lot of horror B movies now.
Yeah.
You can just looking at his IMDb. He's in a movie called like Midnight Devils, Shed of the Dead, Cool as Hell 2, Room 9, The Mad Hatter. Like you could definitely tell that these are the types of movies he's in now. Cool.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a cannibalistic type film.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm assuming the next movie's kind of a ghost story slasher called Girls' School Screamers. That's a heck of alliteration there.
Yeah. So with this one, it's got a new 2K restoration of the film's original camera negatives. We have 28 seconds of violence, an extended making of documentary featuring interviews with writer, director, producer John P. Figgin, and editor, assistant director Tom Rodolino, and second assistant director Bill Pace, actor Peter Cosmanio, and sound designer John Hoden. We have a commentary track with writer, director, producer John P. Finnegan. We have commentary track with editor, assistant director Tom Rodinello, and second assistant camera director, assistant director Bill Pace, and a reversible cover art, English DTS subtitles, and region free. Tell us, do you know anything about Girls' School Screamers? I know it sounds right up your alley.
No, wow. I don't know what that says about me.
I have nothing.
But it came out in 1985, so it's definitely in that realm of 80s slasher, and it feels like it's got that type of vibe of like Slumber Party Massacre or like a summer camp massacre or something like that. It feels like it's in that same vibe. Basically, all these girls are, they're the bad behavior, they have bad attitudes, they get in all kinds of trouble. So I guess instead of like suspending these girls from school or something, they decide to send them to a haunted house, and then they accidentally revive some spirits, and shit goes wild. That seems to be the premise.
I can't say much about the movie. The only thing that kind of stands out interesting is this was a Trauma production, apparently.
Yes, I did see that as well. Or Trauma in, was it post production?
Oh, so just in post, it was taken over by Trauma. Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah,
is that what I read?
Yeah, it says that. It says that post production was undertaken by Trauma, which immediately transformed the film into a late period grindhouse classic.
Nice.
So I mean, if you know anything about Trauma, they've done Toxic Avenger is probably the most well known, but a lot of directors like what's his name, Guardians of the Galaxy director
James Gunn.
You did Tromeo and Juliet, is a Trauma film.
No, yes, he did. I'm trying to think that I'm trying to remember just the name of that slasher film it's not Summer Camp Massacre. I can't remember
Oh,
what it's
I know.
called now.
I know what you're talking. I think I know what you're.
It's that famous one that I can't remember. It's got like 2 sequels.
Oh, she.
Oh, Sleepaway
Sleepaway
Camp.
Camp. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
What's
Way
wrong
off.
with us?
That was way off. Samsonite. Was way off.
I mean, you knew it had something to do with the camp.
Yeah, yeah, because all those movies all kind of like had the same.
The summer camp thing.
The
Was
Friday the Third. Yeah, it's like the Friday the 13th. Bunch of young people, teenagers typically, are doing stuff they're not supposed to do, and then some entity or something comes and kills them.
Yeah, yeah,
That's basically the like prom night. I think is another one, and
yeah.
it's part of that 80s slasher line of films, they're entertaining. Even
Yeah.
to this day, they are relatively entertaining.
But
So,
but yeah, this is the
what were you
first
saying?
time this is
Yeah, Trauma.
Yeah, this is the first time this is getting a Blu-ray. So if this is interesting to you, I mean, once again, they a lot of features too, and it's got an extended making of documentary on it. So they put some work into this one. So might be worth checking out. But moving on, we have another film called Whatever It Takes.
Whatever it takes, Stephen.
And, yeah.
It's what it is.
And this film's got 2 Los Angeles cops go undercover to investigate the distribution of steroids to wrestlers and bodybuilders. Okay. This might be fun, but it's got...
Yeah, you know that underground steroid.
I mean, it is a
Bodybuilder
thing.
ring.
It's definitely a thing, but it sounds more interesting as a documentary, which I have seen a documentary.
Yes, it sounds way more interesting
yeah.
as a documentary. Also, when it comes to like underground drugs,
Steroids is
there's
not...
worse drugs. Yeah, there
Yeah.
may be worse drugs than steroids.
Yeah. But the only thing about this that stands out kind of interestingly is that Don Wilson, who's the lead actor in this, he is a legitimate like martial artist. That he's like...
Yeah, his name. Yeah, he's like dubbed as the Dragon. Yeah,
Yeah.
Don the Dragon Wilson, that's a great kind of nickname,
Yeah.
I guess.
And it looks... The only other actor I'm noticing in this that Andrew Dice Clay's in it. He's a comedian.
Yeah, I'll say Andrew Dice Clay is in that. Yeah.
And then Fred
Dice Man.
Fred Williamson is noticeable here.
Hmm.
So, but going into the features, we have a new 4K restoration on the film from the original camera negatives. We have a newly scanned and restored in 4K from its... Okay, well, they just repeated that twice for some reason. It's from the 35 millimeter original camera negative. We have Going for Control, brand new interview with actor Don the Dragon Wilson, which is cool.
Great name.
I Am a Classic, a brand new interview with actor Fred Williamson. We have a double-sided poster in this one. It's limited edition to 5,000 copies only. And it's got a reversible cover art, English STD subtitles, and it's region-free. So not as many features, maybe a few less, but they are putting a poster in there. And, I mean, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but I don't know. I mean, I like a good crappy martial arts movie.
From the late 90s?
From the late
yeah.
90s, and then, of course, this is about bodybuilders and steroids. It's probably going to be stupid. But
Oh, yeah. What is interesting is I was looking up Whatever It Takes, and for some reason that is a hot title to use for a movie, because there was a Whatever It Takes from 98, 2000, and 2002.
Yeah.
And every time I looked up Whatever It Takes, the other ones would always show up along with this one. And it was just like, that was really, really annoying.
well, I can tell you
to
right
find-
now, one thing about this film, the director, Brady McKenzie, literally the only thing he ever did in anything.
Wow.
He didn't do any other work on any other movies. He just made Whatever It Takes.
Holy crap, you're right. That's the only thing he directed. There's got to be a story behind
There's got to
that,
be a
where-
story behind that. But
Was he like a friend of a friend of a...
yeah,
friend?
maybe somebody really liked the script and just gave him the chance. I mean, that happens sometimes, I guess. But
I guess.
I would be interested in checking this out. I don't know that I will buy this blindly, but
Well, out of all of these, this is the only one that says there's a limited edition of 5,000
True.
copies.
yeah.
So you could be one of those 5,000 if you are one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. But our last
next-
release,
Yes, it's a dual
yeah,
feature film.
yeah, it's a dual
It's a
release.
Double feature.
Phantasm and Phantasm Comes Again. and this is, I would say that these are roughly softcore sex movies.
Yes.
Uh,
It's what it appears to be.
yeah,
These are not. It's not the phantasm you think it is.
yeah, it's not that movie.
It's not. It's not those phantasms, which had a bunch of sequels.
Now the first movie,
This-
which is also got a title of World of Sexual Fantasy.
That kind of sells it right
Yeah,
there.
and this movie's from 1976, and I think the sequel's the next year after. But Professor Jurgen Nodafrud explores the 10 most common female sexual fantasies. Most interestingly, I'm going to bring up here the director of the first film is Richard Franklin, which, if you've heard us talk about Richard Franklin before, he did the film Road Games, which he's an Australian director.
These are Australian films.
Yeah. So this is like probably one of the first things he ever did, because I know some of his early work is in this kind of realm of like sex exploitation films, and this is definitely one of them. It looks like this might already had a release through Synapse Films at some point, so there's that.
Oh boy,
It looks like maybe just a DVD.
that makes sense though.
Yeah.
Synapse. Have you seen Synapse's catalog? It makes a lot of sense.
It happens sometimes. They have some good stuff.
Do you want to know what Richard Franklin's first directorial feature film name? The name of it was?
Oh, I know what it is, but go ahead and say it.
It's called The Dick Down Under.
Yes.
Or it's called The True Story of Eskimo Nell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to start somewhere.
That's true, but I just brought up Psycho 2, which was shot by Dean Cundey, I believe.
Yeah.
And he directed Psycho 2. And what is interesting, I mean, kind of the way this factors into it, he was kind of an obsessive fan of Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And as we know from Alfred Hitchcock's films, there are sexual undertones throughout much of his work.
Yeah.
A lot of sexual undertones, he had to keep them as undertones because he was working within a system where you couldn't be outrightly sexual in film,
Yeah.
in movies. So, if anything, Richard Franklin came after Hitchcock, and he was definitely able to be more overt sexually than ever before. This is after the MPAA comes out, and they have rated R films, rated X films, et cetera, et cetera. But you're right. It's, the world of sexual fantasy, or the original title, Phantasm.
But going through the features real quick, we got a 2-disc Blu-ray set here. New 2K restoration from the original 16mm camera negatives and additional elements. Polish it up. brand new interview with editor Tony Patterson. Blowing up. A brand new interview with cinematographer Vincent Montan. Brand new audio interview with actress Serena, moderated. She just has one name apparently. Actress Serena, moderated by Casey Scott. Archival audio commentary for both films with producer and creator Anthony Janine. Phantasm Penetrated. An archival featurette, 23 minutes long. We have interviews with cast and crew members from the documentary Not Quite Hollywood, which is something we brought up before.
Comes back again.
Yeah. And we got trailers for both films. We got reversible cover art and English SDH subtitles. And I'm not saying, is it saying this is region free?
It doesn't say at all.
No, it doesn't say. I'm assuming it is.
Let me see. Either region free or region A.
Yeah. That seems to be most of their stuff. So, but
if you're a Richard Franklin completist, I assume you have to get
this one. Yeah.
I mean, I do have Road Games. I do have Psycho 2.
Oh man, I can feel the tingling.
I know.
The tingling.
I know. I
think
can
you'll
feel
skip
the obsessive compulsive collector in me is really getting the urge to buy it, but I probably won't.
Nah, you won't. You'll talk yourself out of it.
Probably not. But yeah, he has a small filmography. I know we touched on him several times before, but his most recent film was 2003, and it's called Visitors.
Yeah.
And that's That's about it from Richard
Well, he's
Franklin.
dead.
He is.
He passed away.
Oh, he passed away
Yeah. Yeah.
2007. That
Yeah.
explains. Yeah, I think we talked about him.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did. We talked about him a lot. But yeah, this is, it's just part of. I mean, we kind of joke about it a lot, a little bit because of its sexual nature. But this is right in that realm of 1970s, like kind of the Australian underground movement, kind of an Australian film renaissance that was happening in the 70s and into the 80s, which we don't really get a lot into, because I think that Not Quite Hollywood documentary really gets into all of that.
Yeah.
This is when this is when George Miller would show up, and he would make he would make Mad Max, and then the Road Warrior, and that would come like a decade later. But this is kind of like the early gestation of Australian cinema in the 70s.
Yeah.
Nicholas Roeg, also I believe an Australian filmmaker as well. He made that movie that was set in the Australian outback. Walkabout, which is a great film put out by Criterion and others, I believe.
Yeah, I think Second
He
Sight
also directed
put out
Insignificance.
Second Sight put out a great set of that too.
So as much as we joke, it is kind of a rather important piece of probably Australian film.
Piece of a great film. From what I can tell, a really good filmmaker, and also just like you said, like it's part of the beginnings of a new industry in Australia. So
Also interesting shot in 16 millimeter, so low budget and additional elements. I find that's so interesting because what other additional elements are we talking about?
Yeah.
Probably not necessarily a negative, maybe an
maybe
interpositive
or
a positive,
or something.
I mean,
who knows?
Hopefully it's not like an 8 millimeter type stuff that they have to splice into the 16 millimeter stuff, because sometimes it's usually, the way they had to do it with Fritz Lang's Metropolis to restore that thing. They had to kind of splice in 16 millimeter different types of elements into certain scenes to finish, to get an actual master.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's some drop off in terms of quality, but Vinegar Syndrome, another company that goes all out when it comes to these releases. So this movie's probably going to look, or both of these movies will probably look better than they've ever looked before.
Well, I mean, as back when we had Andrew Furtado on, he talked about Vinegar Syndrome and told us that one of the big differences between Severin and Vinegar Syndrome was that they focus very highly on the quality of the presentation. So
yes.
and you see all these, like everything here at least gets like 2K's presentation restoration. So it's like, even for these films that are maybe not great or anything, they're probably gonna look the best they ever will ever look. So yeah,
most definitely.
But that's it for Vinegar Syndrome, and that is it for our episode this week. Anything else we got to bring up? No? Anything you've been watching anything lately?
Oh, many things.
Anything?
Things.
Not watching. How about anything that you've got in physical media wise?
Ooh,
anything come
physical
in?
media wise. Well, we just finished up the tail end of the Criterion sale.
Yes.
I know we touched a little bit about that. We did a whole episode about
recommendations,
Criterion and recommendations and stuff like that. I went a little Criterion crazy, Steven.
That's okay.
I went a little crazy.
That's allowed.
Man, I kind of forgot. Yeah, I bought. Oh man.
You don't have it right beside you?
Yeah, I do, but I just can't remember. All right, so 15. So I bought 17.
Jesus.
And I still got at least 2 coming in the mail.
Oh man, you did go crazy.
So, but yeah, so I had to. Yeah, at the last second, I went a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Oh, nice.
And I bought, so the Wong Kar-wai set is on its way over, because that got back ordered several times during the sale. It got back ordered by everybody.
That was
Amazon.
that was kind of my big purchase. I had a few other ones, but that was kind of my big purchase, was getting that set. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the World of Wong Kar-wai coming, and Nightmare Alley, which is one I wanted to get from the very beginning. But I was telling Steven a while ago, when you're shopping in store at your local Barnes & Noble during the sale, if you have the opportunity to, make sure to check the cases.
Yeah.
Give them not too furious of a shake, but just a little shake to see if anything's loose in there. Because for some reason there was something rattling within like all 6 or 7 copies of the Nightmare Alleys that were at my store.
Wow.
And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a booklet. I don't know if the disc was loose or if something was broken and rattling around like a maraca in there. But I wasn't taking the chance. But the World of Wong Kar-wai set, which Steven has already gotten, was one of the hottest
Yeah.
things for this sale. And I had to get it just because it looked so beautiful, and those movies are just gorgeous movies through and through, aesthetically, thematically, every way. So those should be coming within the next week or so, hopefully, and then I can finally put this sale to bed. So
Yeah.
that would make it what 19 acquisitions.
Plus how many movies are in the box set themselves? Technically.
I don't. Yeah, I only count the title.
Sure.
I'll only count Wong Kar-wai as one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count it as however many are in there. But that's just kind of what I've been concentrating towards the end of July, and yeah. But there's always stuff coming.
Oh yeah.
Out, as we've covered here on the show many times. So, Steven, where can they find this show if they want to listen to it on several different formats?
Well, I mean, I will, but how about me? Can I say some of the things I got real quick?
Oh, sure.
I know this is the Andrew Cabral hour, but I mean, no, I'm just kidding.
This is the only outlet I have, Steven. Let me have it.
But I was just gonna say real quick, I had because we talked about it when it was first announced, the Ron release from Studio Canal, the 4K release. Shout out to Aaron West, who was on that episode. I will finally get a chance to watch Ron, because I haven't seen it. So I will be watching that soon, and I'll have to come back with my thoughts. But that, and also my Babadook 4K will supposed to show up tomorrow. This is Sunday, so it should be here on Monday. And other than that, I got the Sergio Martino set from Arrow, which it seems that these repackaged releases they're putting them in that skinnier cardboard, which is not great. I don't love that. I don't love that they're skimping there. I know why they're doing it, but I don't really like that. So Arrow, if you're listening, please just put it in a rigid box. That's what we come to you for, is quality all around stuff. And I know you're just repackaging single releases, but people would love just a little bit extra, please, if you can. But other than that, I got my Indicator releases from last month. I might have shared that. I'm not sure. But with the Big Fix, the Day of the Dolphin, and the Invincible, the Werner Herzog film.
Nice.
So
I can't wait until you watch Day of the Dolphin.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that
and
soon,
I want your
too.
opinion on it.
Yeah. But that's it for the episode. Where can we find you, Andrew?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Cabzilla06, as well as my YouTube channel, Cabzilla Productions.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can find me at all of the Chasing Labels stuff, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, and my Letterboxd, all at Chasing Labels. And you can find the audio for this podcast at Podbean, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify. And please, at any of these places, please rate us and maybe leave a review. We would love to hear from you guys and seeing how we can improve the show, or just get a little bit of love. We love some love. So that's it for this episode. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on buying them movies.
I know I will.